If you'd only read the headlines and didn't have the complete context of the story, you might have been left with the impression that Claudine Gay, Harvard University's first black president, resigned from America's oldest institution of higher education after having been found to have plagiarized. That's neither the full story nor the real one. The real story of how Claudine Gay was ultimately ousted from Harvard involves race, gender, money, politics, and a deliberate, very public right-wing campaign to topple her career and to send a clear message in doing so. That campaign was led by this guy, Christopher Rufo. He's a prominent and influential conservative activist. For years, Rufo's explicit goal has been to eradicate critical race theory, which he deliberately confuses with DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives from, quote, every institution in America, end quote. Now, Rufo's not shy about showing his true colors. He's telegraphed every step of his master plan along the way, and his strategy has worked. In 2021, Rufo's anti-CRT campaign ginned up enough conservative pressure against Nicole Hannah-Jones, the co-founder of the 1619 Project, that the University of North Carolina denied her tenure. Jones, by the way, had a Pulitzer Prize, a MacArthur Genius Grant, and support from the school's chancellor and faculty. No one who had held the position to which she was hired had ever before been denied tenure. But that history and her accomplishments were no match for the conservative pressure cooker. Hannah-Jones moved on. She's now chairing the Knight Chair of Race and Journalism at Howard University. Now, Christopher Rufo doesn't do it alone. He acknowledges that the highly coordinated campaign to force Claudine Gay to resign from Harvard was a three-pronged attack. That's what he told Politico's Ian Ward last week. Quote, this really was a team effort that involved three primary points of leverage. First was the narrative leverage, and this was done primarily by me, Christopher Brunette, and Aaron Sabarium. Second was the financial leverage, which was led by Bill Ackman and other Harvard donors. And finally, there was the political leverage, which was really led by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's masterful performance with Claudine Gay at her hearings. When you put those three elements together, narrative, financial, and political pressure, and you squeeze hard enough, you see the results that we got today, which was the resignation of America's most powerful academic leader, end quote. There it is, clear as day. Christopher Rufo's own words. Christopher Rufo and this crew of strange bedfellows helped to bring down the president of Harvard, not because of who she was or what she did, but to advance their own particular causes. And I want to go through those causes with you. There was a target on Claudine Gay's back since the war between Israel and Hamas triggered protests on college campuses, along with a surge in anti-Semitic and anti-Arab violence. And while these tensions exist on many university campuses, three university presidents in particular, Claudine Gay, Elizabeth Magill of the University of Pennsylvania, and Sally Kornbluth of MIT, were singled out for their responses to student reactions to the October 7th attack, specifically, and Israel-Palestinian tensions on campus more broadly. In December, they testified before the House of Representatives in hearings that were supposed to illuminate anti-Semitism on campus, but in reality, those hearings were a trap. And that's where Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik comes in. She asked Gay whether, quote, calling for the genocide of Jews violated Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, end quote. All three presidents said in one way or another that it would depend on the context. This answer was widely condemned, deemed by experts to be legally correct but lacking in empathy. Penn's Elizabeth Magill resigned not long after the hearing. Sally Kornbluth of MIT is still in her post, and Claudine Gay lived to fight another day at Harvard, that is, until Christopher Rufo dispatched the next prong in his plan. Now, put a pin in that for a moment. I want to point out the irony of Elise Stefanik's political theater during that hearing. Stefanik is an ardent supporter of Donald Trump, a man with a long history of using anti-Semitic tropes. He invited the anti-Semite Kanye West and the Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes to dine with him. He said that among the protesters who chanted, "Jews will not replace us," through the streets of Charlottesville, there were some, quote, very fine people, end quote. And of late, he's been echoing Hitler in his campaign speeches. No matter how many times you say the word anti-Semitism, you are the company you keep. Okay, let's go back to Christopher Rufo. With the help of two conservative reporters, Christopher Brunette and Aaron Sabarium, Rufo started floating accusations that Claudine Gay plagiarized academic work. Those allegations went from Rufo's blog to the pages of conservative publications to mainstream publications like the New York Times. Harvard itself never accused Gay of plagiarism, but it did investigate the allegations and found that they are at worst instances of inadequate citation. They're not what the word plagiarism might make you think. Claudine Gay was not stealing anyone's ideas, nor was she presenting other people's ideas as her own. And Harvard did not conclude that any issues in her academic citations amounted to misconduct. Now, normally that would be the end of it. But here's possibly the ugliest part of this whole chapter. At America's universities, academics and speech and learning are not primary. Money is. Bill Ackman is an American billionaire hedge fund manager and a Harvard alum. Ackman started calling for Claudine Gay's resignation and threatening to pull his donations from the university over her response to the October 7th Hamas attack. He called on the university to release the names of students who signed a pro-Palestinian statement in order to get them blacklisted from future jobs, stating none of the companies which he controls will hire a student who had signed the statement, and nor should others. Ackman is active on X, formerly Twitter. According to The Guardian, in the past month alone, he's tweeted about Gay, Harvard, or both more than 100 times to his 1.3 million followers. On December 7th, Ackman suggested Dr. Gay was a diversity hire. He said in part, quote, "I learned from someone with first-person knowledge of the Harvard president's search that the committee would not consider a candidate who did not meet the DEI office's criteria." He added, "Shrinking the pool of candidates based on required race, gender, and/or sexual orientation criteria is not the right approach to identifying the best leaders for our most prestigious universities. And it is also not good for those awarded the office of president who find themselves in a role that they would likely not have obtained were it not for a fat finger on the scale." Ackman brought Stefanik and Rufo's allegations, anti-Semitism and diversity, together in another 400-word screed on X in which he takes aim at Harvard's DEI movement, saying that it is, quote, "the root cause of anti-Semitism at Harvard," end quote. There you have it. Diversity is anti-Semitism, or efforts to achieve diversity are anti-Semitism. Here are some more greatest hits from Ackman's rambling post. Quote, "DEI is racist because reverse racism is racism even if it's against white people." And quote, "Having a darker skin color, a less common sexual identity, and or being a woman doesn't make one necessarily oppressed or even disadvantaged." Ackman also says Claudine Gay should not remain as faculty at Harvard because of her, quote, "serious plagiarism issues." As another academic, Neri Oxman, a tenured professor at MIT, who was accused of plagiarism this week. Business Insider published 2 investigations in which Oxman reportedly plagiarized parts of her 2010 doctoral dissertation at MIT. The allegations range from passages that were missing quotations for proper citations, similar to the accusations against Claudine Gay, to Oxman allegedly lifting full paragraphs from Wikipedia, which, if true, seems to be much worse than what Claudine Gay is accused of doing. After Business Insider's first report, Oxman apologized for the errors and said she would ask MIT to make any necessary corrections. So why do we care about Neri Oxman? Because Neri Oxman is the wife of Bill Ackman, who insisted that Claudine Gay resign over similar infractions. But to his wife's infractions, Bill Ackman said, quote, "Part of what makes Neri human is that she makes mistakes, owns up to them, and apologizes when appropriate," end quote. Bill Ackman's wife had imperfect citations in her Ivy League dissertation, and that was a mistake. Harvard's first black president, who must have been a diversity hire and hence substandard, had imperfect citations in her Ivy League dissertation, and now she's gone from the job. Oh, and if you're an MIT professor, watch your back, because now Bill Ackman says he's going to use his billions to review the work of all current MIT faculty. It's not clear yet. The story of Claudine Gay's resignation is about a lot of things, but it's not really about plagiarism, nor was it ever really about anti-Semitism. In a New York Times op-ed, Claudine Gay gave a warning to America, quote, "The campaign against me was about more than one university and one leader. This was merely a single skirmish in a broader war to unravel public faith in pillars of American society." She adds, "It's not lost on me that I make for an ideal canvas for projecting every identity about the generational and demographic changes unfolding on American campuses. A black woman selected to lead a storied institution."